So the 2025 AFL All-Australian squad has officially been released, and to say the least, there are some very interesting calls. A lot of players who have been hard done by, very interesting players who have made the squad, obviously not the official team, which is going to be announced later in the year. So what I am going to do is I am going to go through the entire 44-man team, and I'm going to choose 5 players that I believe should not have been in that squad, and I'm going to add 5 players that should have made it instead of those players, trying to keep positions as similar as possible. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to obviously go through the entire 44-man team, and as we can see here, there is a lot of players that definitely deserve it. There's a fair few new players as well. And it seems that it's heavily dominated by pretty much 4 teams, which are obviously Adelaide, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and then the Bulldogs. Crazy that the Bulldogs will probably miss finals and having 5 All-Australians. That's ridiculous. But what I'm going to go through is now going to go through all the players I think deserve their spot in the All-Australian squad. And they are Jordan Dawson, Mark Keane, Rankin, Thilthorpe and Worrell. So the entire Adelaide team, I think they deserve it. They have been fantastic all throughout the year for Adelaide, and to be honest, they're sitting first and they rose from 15th, and they deserve as many All-Australian spots as they're going to get. However many make the team, I'm not entirely sure. It's probably going to be a separate video, my prediction for the team, which you'll see potentially within the next week, who knows. I am going to do it on my podcast though, which is going to be Zero Access Footy, and that's probably going to be next week, Tuesday, releasing at 4. So if you want to check that out, me and Reese or Northey, they're going to be doing it over there. So be sure to check that out. For Brisbane, I think Andrews is a lock. I think he's been the best All-Australian defender for the entire year. Hugh McCluggage should be locked in for his first All-Australian spots in the actual team, not just the squad, for I think the 5th time, which is absolutely outrageous. Dane Zorko's had a great year, and that means obviously someone from Brisbane is missing. I think all 3 of the Collingwood players should make it. I think the Dacoses have been fantastic. Nick probably hasn't been at his best, but Josh has thrived in a new position off of halfback and wing and playing in the midfield when he needs to. Jamie Elliott's been the best small forward all year. I think for Fremantle, I think they've got 3 definites. I think the 2 midfielders in Brayshaw and Sarong have been sublime and have helped carry them when they've needed to. They've had a lot of dominance in the midfield with the likes of Jackson and Darcy providing it to them. However, doesn't mean that Luke Jackson is not here. I don't think if you're not the number 1 ruck in your team, you should not be a ruckman in the All-Australian squad, so he's one that is missing. I think all 3 players from Geelong definitely deserve to make it. Holmes and Smith are probably outside chances for the Brownlow. If Bailey Smith played every single game, he probably would be favourite, and that just shows how good of a season he's had for the Cats, and obviously Jezza has to make it. I've got for the Suns, Noah Anderson, Matt Rowell, I think definitely locks, and then for the key position players, Ben King I think deserves it, but I don't know if he makes the team. He definitely deserves the squad. And Sam Collins, I think, has been one of the most underrated key defenders and probably only just misses out on my All-Australian team. But I don't believe Ben Long makes it. I think for the Giants, Lockie Ash has had a great season off of half-back. Finn Callahan and Tom Green have really propelled their midfield as a 2-man duo, and they've been great. And then Sam Taylor probably just squeezes in, but I think this year's been more off of reputation than off of his actual performance. I don't think he's been at his best. Interested that there's no Lockie Whitfield though. Obviously he's dealt with a few things throughout the season, but I feel like he and Lockie Ash are very, very close to each other. Obviously no Hogan because of all his injuries throughout the year. Jack Gunston I think definitely deserves to make it. He has been fantastic at 34 years old and really been probably the biggest reason for Hawthorn making the 8 with their issues in the forward line this season, with no Deer and Lewis for a lot of it. Pickett and Gawn, I think they definitely deserve to make it. Max Gawn has been as good as he's ever been, but his lows have probably been slightly worse, but still good enough to make it, and Pickett has just been incredible at times. Mitch Georgiades, definitely. Zach Butters, definitely. I think he and Butters, what he's done when he's played has been great, and Georgiades, I think, probably actually makes the team. I think he's been great for Port Adelaide this year. Their only real consistent player. Nick Vlauston probably does make it. I think he deserves it. I don't know who else would come in for him positionally as well, because I just think for what he's done for Richmond, they've got 5 wins when they weren't expected to win more than 2 for most people. Grundy and Heaney, what Grundy's done in the second half of the year is insane. Isaac Heaney probably hasn't hit the heights of what he did last year consistency-wise, but at his best, he's had multiple 25 and 5-goal games. Ridiculous player. I've got Naz, obviously, in the team. He has been fantastic. Nothing else to say. Thankfully, he signed. And then you got 4 plays from the Dogs. I think Bont, even though he's only played the 16 games, it's just hit that bar. Bailey Dale, 100% deserves to make it. Tom Liberatore, been fantastic, especially early on for what he needed to do when there was no Bont. And then obviously Ed Richards has been one of the best players all throughout the year. But that leaves 5 players, obviously, as I mentioned, and they are Zach Bailey, Luke Jackson, Ben Long, Josh Battle, and Sam Darcy. As I said just before, Bontempelli played the 16 games, but so did Darcy. However, I don't think you can make the argument that Darcy even deserves it over his own teammate. I know how good Darcy has been when he's been there. Unfortunately, you do have to wait it. A 16-game season from Darcy probably doesn't quite match it of a 23-game season from Aaron Norton. Darcy's been better when he has played. I don't think that's really been in doubt. But over the entire season, I think Aaron Norton's deserve it. Josh Battle, I know he's been a great lockdown defender, but I don't think he's been really enough to do it. I think obviously they've had issues with Sicily going down and Weddle as well recently with the back injury. But for Hawthorn, I feel like Tom Barras could have made it over Josh Battle. I don't think he has been good enough, to be honest. I think there have been other players, such as someone I'm going to mention very soon, who have been better than him, just plain and simple, being good enough defensively alongside what Josh Battle has done in comparison, but then have either been even better intercept-wise or damage-wise with ball in hand. Luke Jackson, as I had mentioned before when talking about him, I don't think if you're the second ruck for your own team, you should be making it as a ruckman, and he's not a good enough forward to then make it. Maybe on a bench spot, but I don't think he's had a good enough year to be able to make the All-Australian squad. And then Zach Bailey, I think he's had his best year, but I don't think it's been All-Australian level, and there's been a few snubs, and those are the players we're going to now. I think for Zach Bailey, Zach Merritt comes in. Zach for Zach, he's been fantastic for Essendon all year. He's missed a couple games, but aside from that, the way he carries this team, he's just required to do everything, and I think with how they've really played in the second half of the year with all the injuries, he has been the only one doing anything. He's been moved around a little bit, and that's probably hurt his case just a bit. But I just think he's had a better year than Zach Bailey, even though he hasn't been in a good enough team. Tristan Cherry, I think, easily has had a better season than Luke Jackson, even though he's missed 3 games through suspension. When he's been playing, the impact he has for North Melbourne and in the stoppage especially is crazy. Like, you saw what he did against Adelaide on the weekend. They got mauled in the centre clearances. And when he was out, you saw the difference. North Melbourne literally rely on him to score, because aside from clearance, they can't do anything. And I think he 100% deserves to make the squad. Jack Higgins, I think, has had a better year than Ben Long. He's kicked more goals than him, has applied more pressure. And I just think he has been a better player all throughout the year. Ben Long was great in the first half of the year, and so was Jack Higgins. And Ben Long has had a bigger drop-off than what Jack Higgins has had in the second half of the year. So I don't understand the argument that Ben Long makes it. It's simply based off the fact that Ben Long was in a good team and Gold Coast could still miss the 8. So I don't think that's fair. I think Wilkie makes it over Josh Battle as well. As I mentioned before, he's been a better interceptor than what Josh Battle has been. And I don't think the difference between Battle being one of the best lockdown defenders this year and Wilkie still being at an All-Australian level in terms of lockdown, I don't think it's been enough. And so I think very simply, Wilkie's had a better year. And then Aaron Norton, as I was talking about before, I think he makes it over Sam Darcy. There's a fair few keys that very well could have, like Aaron Cadman's pushing most definitely for this spot. But I think it goes to Norton simply because the second half of the year, he has been such a big reason as to why the Bulldogs almost made the 8. And I think I actually had him as one of my most overrated players at the start of the year. And to say he's proved me wrong is just absolutely correct. Like, he has been the biggest, not the biggest because obviously you got Bont, Richards and everything there, but the way he stepped up when Darcy returned, I think, is one of the biggest reasons the Bulldogs tried to make the 8 and really pushed. And I think he definitely makes it over Sam Darcy. And those are the 5 players that I think should be dropped. It's obviously going to have like a lot of people arguing about it. There's going to be more. Darcy Cameron's another one that could very well have made it. It's going to be heaps and heaps of players that you just like, especially from the bias of fans of that team, are going to be like, how didn't he make it? That's absolutely unfair. But there are a fair few from last year who just obviously had a big of a drop-off, and it opened up some spots for some new people. People are going to say that I'm a bit biased bringing in 2 Saints fans, but to be honest, I don't really care. I also think they've had really good years, and they deserve to make it. And I just don't think that some of the people are really going to understand that, but doesn't matter. I've said what I've said. I am going to do my All-Australian predictions in the Zero Access Footy podcast. Don't know if I'm going to do it as an individual video. I might, depending on how much time I get to explain it. But it's going to be very interesting to see who the selectors actually make as their 22, because there's going to be a lot of players who have had fantastic seasons that are going to miss out. But if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I did have a down year this year. I am going to hope to make some more content over the rest of the year, but we'll sort of see. I am going to try to do a lot with the off season, but I'm going to be fairly busy as well with uni and with work and some stuff. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.